Welcome back to BEFM Drama. I'm your host, Ryan Estrada. And once again this season we're adapting Charles Dickens' very, very strange 22 books of A Christmas Carol sequels that are just weird stories, and we're turning them into brand new radio plays featuring a cast of Busan actors. And this week we're presenting part 2 of our adaptation of Dickens' 3 chapters from The 7 Poor Travelers. This one adapts the remainder of the story of Richard Doubledick and continues into the final story, The Road. This is part 2 of the tale of a man who could not be killed and all of the things that kept him surviving. Our story begins once again in the ambulance of paramedics Goblin and Fern as Goblin continues his story. Please enjoy part 2 of BeFM Drama's production of You Still Can't Kill Dick Doubledick.
Wow. That guy really had his arm jammed up in that vending machine, huh?
Yeah, and I kept telling him, just let go of the candy bar. But he wouldn't listen.
Well, he got himself out really fast when we offered to amputate.
Yeah, another job done. The city is safe.
Now where were we? Remind me of where we were in the story.
Well, this guy got his arm cut way up in a vending machine, and he just kept pulling it. Pulling it.
Not that one. The vacation story.
Oh, that. All right, well, yeah, great. So, Louise and I decided to take a trip out to the Holly Tree Hotel, but I couldn't get the days off that we wanted, so she decided to go first, and I would meet her there later. But boy, oh boy, did I ever get caught.
No, not your vacation story. Mine. I was telling you the story of Dick Doubledick, the man who cannot be killed.
Oh yeah, that one. How could I forget? His name was Dick Doubledick, and that's not something you forget.
What did I tell you so far?
Oh, okay. A little recap then? Well, I believe you headed up to Rochester to visit the first patient you ever saved, a guy named Dick Doubledick, and the doctors told you that he only had a few hours to live, so you went there to say your final goodbyes. And he'd always been secretive, but since it was near the end of his life, he decided to tell you his story, and he almost dies all the time, but it never quite stuck because he always seemed to have some reason to survive. First, he fell in love with a girl named Mary, and he lived for her for a little bit. But then she dumped him, and he went off to war hoping to die in battle. Then he met this nice captain who became like his brother, and protecting the captain gave him another reason to live. Well, at least for a while, but the captain was shot by the enemy, so then he lived for revenge. And he was injured, survived, sent home, and realized that he'd failed both those missions, so he didn't have any reason to live anymore. Until he met the captain's mom, and they became a new family, and blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, that's where we left it.
Yeah, see, I listen to your stories. Maybe you could listen to mine sometime.
So, Dick Doubledick had a new reason to live.
And everyone lived happily ever after. I thought the story was done.
Not quite yet. As I sat next to Dick in the old hospice, hearing the whirring of machines and beeping of monitors, he told me the rest of his tale.
I had moved across the country to be with my new mother. We helped one another get over the captain's death. I helped her do shopping. I helped fix up her house, and she helped me find reasons to go on again. We became a family.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now let's move on to near-death number 303. One that I'm afraid I don't remember. I'm told there was a roofing accident, a traumatic head injury, and a prolonged stay in the hospital.
Oh, that's terrible.
The only thing I remember was waking up. I slowly realized I was in the hospital and started looking for my mother. Then, through my blurred vision, I saw a face, and I heard a voice. It wasn't my mother.
Who was it?
I asked. A woman's voice replied, "You don't recognize me?" I said, "No." She asked, "You don't remember what happened?" I said, "No." She asked, if you don't recognize my face from yesterday, do you recognize it from long before? She leaned in closer, and my eyes adjusted. I couldn't believe what I saw. I stammered in disbelief. "Mary?" She said, "Yes, Richard, it's me." I shouted, "Mary Marshall!" She looked serious. "It's not Mary Marshall anymore." I responded, disappointed. "Oh, you got married?" She said, "Yes."
Ouch.
She asked, "Do you know my husband?" I was flabbergasted. I hadn't seen her in so many years. How could I know her husband? I never expected her to follow through on her promise to never love anyone else, but it still stung. She told me I'd better tell you about him. I didn't want to hear it, but I was so happy to hear Mary's voice, I didn't want her to stop talking. She told me there was a man I loved so truly and deeply with no hope of anything in return. I thought it was best for both he and I that we never spoke again, because he was headed down a dark, dark path that I couldn't follow. He disappeared. I didn't know if he was alive or dead. Until many years later, I got a call from an old woman. She had just lost her son, found a new one, and was losing him. He had spoken so much, so passionately about me that she hoped that he could see me again before he died. I learned of his honor, his bravery, his commitment, and how he had never forgotten about me all that time, just as I had never forgot about him. And then, just before he was wheeled into surgery, he and I were married, so that he could at long last call me wife before he died. Now do you know my husband? I said, "We got married?" "Yes," she replied. "And then you stubbornly didn't die, so I guess you're stuck with me." I was so overjoyed, but I knew I could not expect anything more of her. I said, "Mary, I have never wanted anything more than to be your husband. But I never expected you to keep that promise you made so many years ago, and I don't expect you to keep that promise you made to a dying man. I thank you for your kindness. It truly gave me the reason I needed to survive, but I don't expect you to be my wife." She said, "I have never wanted anything more either. A lady doesn't take a name like Doubledick unless she means it. What do you say we wait until you get out of here and talk about maybe having a real wedding?" We did. We got married again. We had a house of our own. We had a kid. We all called the captain's mother Mom. A family brought together by two horrible tragedies. We lived many joyful years. Not one near-death experience in sight. But I had a reason to survive anyway. My family was all I needed.
So, what was near-death experience number 304?
Well, that one was a little different. And it's one of the things I can't tell you. It's something I've never told anyone.
I understand. It sounds like a painful memory.
It happened when our mother went away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, she didn't die. She went on vacation.
Oh.
Mary and I were busy with our boy, and she no longer had anything to stress about, so she flew off to a small vineyard in a small village in a small town in the middle of nowhere for a few months of rest, relaxation, and wine. It sounded great. She told us of all the beautiful times she had, the wonderful new food she ate, the amazing people she met. She had met this nice little girl in the vineyards, about the same age as our son, and they talked every day. The little girl never tired of her stories. The girl's family owned the vineyard, and they invited our mother to dinner. They became such fast friends that soon they too called her mother.
Were you jealous?
Not at all. She was so happy. I was so happy. She'd been alone for so long that it was wonderful that she could find family wherever she went. They even invited her to stay with them in her home. And then she invited Mary and I to visit. And we did. And then it happened. And that's where I'll have to leave the story.
So, I'll never know how you almost died in a vineyard. You're a real tease, Doubledick.
Oh, no. Not me. As I said, this near-death experience was a little different. It wasn't my own near-death that I experienced, but that of someone else. And they'll never know. I never told my mother, my wife, or even the man that I almost killed.
Well, you don't have to tell me.
I outlived my mother. I outlived my wife. And I outlived that man. I've held the secret for so long. You're a doctor, right?
I'm a paramedic.
The doctors. They sound different this time. They're telling me all the same things, but it sounds like they mean it. Like I'm not really dying, like I have so many times before, but that I might really be dying. Like this might actually be the end. Is this the end?
It doesn't sound good, Dick.
I find it hard to believe, but in case it is, I wonder if it's finally time to tell someone that story.
Well, do you want me to get someone for you? Because I'm getting pretty tired of this non-stop teaser trailer for this story.
There you go. Now you're joking with me again. Good. All right. I'll tell you this one last story before I go.
I'm all ears.
Mary and I flew out to the village. We arrived and we were greeted by Mom with a huge hug at the opening of the vineyard. The little girl was there to greet us, and we sent her and our boy off to play. On the walk up the drive, Mom told us so many stories about the kind of family who had taken her in, how she considered them my family, and she couldn't wait for me to meet my brother. As soon as the front door opened, a great big burly man reached out and hugged me. I got the shock of my life.
Did you know the guy?
I knew his face. I had that face burned in my memory for decades. The one in my memory was a little younger with a little less facial hair, but I could not mistake it. The face that once been my reason for surviving, my reason for revenge.
No. You don't mean it was...
It was the soldier who had killed the captain, who had killed my friend, who had killed my mother's son. The man I had sworn to find and kill if it took me a lifetime. Here he was, hugging me with no idea who I was. I doubled over in shock. I fell backwards off the porch into the grass. I couldn't breathe. Everyone around me thought I was dying of a heart attack, but I knew in my heart that this man was the one who was going to die. He took me inside. He sat me down. He started treating me, but I told him I was fine. He said he had a training as a medic from his time as a soldier. I told him I was a soldier too. His face grew sad. Such a terrible time, he told me. I lost so many dear friends in the war. I wondered how many of those friends I and the captain took from him. My mother interrupted the uncomfortable silence. She said that she was so happy that her two boys had so much in common and were both so kind and so true, and that she knew we would be fast friends. I told everyone that I needed to go lie down, that how could I exact my revenge? How could I explain to my poor mother what her second son had done, and what her third son had done to her first? What would be said to this man's family? As night fell and everyone went to sleep, I got up and saw that the old soldier was still sitting out, alone on the front porch. I crept down the stairs and took his rifle off the wall. I stood silently in the window behind him, with the rifle pointed at his head and my finger on the trigger. And then...
You didn't!
I put the gun down. I told you, this was a story of a near-death experience. I went back to bed, and the next morning we all had breakfast together. I never told him. I never told my mother. I never told anyone. But we did become a family. When his daughter and our son grew up, they got married, and we became brothers.
Why'd you do it?
I didn't need revenge to keep me going anymore. I had a family that kept getting bigger, and that was enough.
Well, you certainly kept going. How many near deaths are you up to now?
Oh, the early thousands. None of them are the ones that hurt. It's the deaths that did stick that bring me the pain. The captain, our mother, my wife, even that soldier who went from my enemy to my brother. I mourned his loss.
So what keeps you going now?
All of it.
All of it?
Every last thing. The times I've had and the times I will have. The people I've loved and the people I will love. Even the pain I've endured and the pain I will endure. Because each setback has brought me so much joy. Even if there are far more memories behind me than ahead of me, even if I only have days, minutes, or seconds left, I'll live them, and I'll love them. Life isn't worth it just to find the one thing that keeps you going. Life is just worth it. Full stop.
That's wonderful to hear.
Well, I think that story took longer to tell than the doctors gave me to live. And you probably got a bus to catch, so I guess we better say our goodbyes now, just in case.
It's always been great knowing you, Dick.
And you?
I headed out of the room and said goodbye to the doctors as well. They told me how much it must have meant to Richard to have me there in his final moments. I got on the bus and headed home.
Wow. I'm so sorry about your friend.
Oh, no. He didn't die.
Wait, what?
That story I told you wasn't from his last trip. That's what happened when I visited him like 5 years ago.
That was 5 years ago? And you just got called out again because he was dying?
Oh, no. This time he just called me up and invited me to go water skiing. He said we should hang out sometime when he wasn't dying.
Hang out and go skiing? The guy's still kicking?
He got in a little water skiing accident, but was fine. You can't kill old Dick Doubledick.
Well, good for you. I mean, since he's not sick anymore, you'll finally have a friend who's not a patient or a coworker.
Yeah. About that. He said that retirement was boring him, so I helped him get a job.
Dickens?
Go ahead, Dick.
Head to 11th and West 59th. We have a guy with his leg stuck in a toilet.
On our way.
Wow, what a story. Hey, a two-parter in fact. That's new. I mean, if you get two-parters now, I'm definitely telling a story next week.
You can have a one-parter.
Okay, well, we'll see, because I got a lot of things to say.
Thank you for listening to BEFM Drama. This was You Still Can't Kill Dick Doubledick, based on The Story of Richard Doubledick and The Road by Charles Dickens. This radio play was written by me, Ryan Estrada. It starred Sam Hazelton as Goblin, Kelly Brassbridge as Fern, Carrie Mayer as Dick Doubledick. Goblin's theme is by Unheard Music Concepts. Hidden Agenda and the rest of our score today are by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech and released under a Creative Commons Attribution License. Tune into the next episode of BEFM Drama, where Fern will finally get the chance to tell his story. We'll be adapting the stories from this book that Dickens didn't write in The Case of the Seven Suspicious Travelers and the Poisoned Pretzel. Thank you for listening to BEFM Drama.